Continuing on with prorations, and again, as we're doing the prorations, we're just showing you all possibilities that could come up. So look at page 37 in your workbook, I believe. If not, it's the one that starts out. Rachel is purchasing a property for $860,000 with an assessed value of 80%. The tax rate's $1.55. Closing is on October 26th. What is the tax proration entry if taxes have been paid by the seller? Okay, we're dealing with a lot of stuff here. Now, I don't know if you're there yet, but in my mind, I had already started calculating this. I'm saying, well, the taxes are already paid by the seller, so I know that the seller's going to get reimbursed by the buyer, so it's going to be a debit buyer credit seller. Let's see if that ends up being the case on this one. So she's purchasing the property for $860,000. We know, according to the problem, that the assessed value is 80%. And again, depending on how devious we are at the time we write the test questions, we may give you the taxes, or we may make you work for it. Hold on here a second. 860, boom, 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 times 0.8 equals 688. Now, that's good. We've solved for something, but that's just our assessed value. So we still have to go back and figure out how much our taxes are. 688 divided by 100, because that's what we do in North Carolina, times, the problem told us $1.55. $1.55. Therefore, let's see, divided by 100 times 1.55. The taxes for this property are $10,664 for the year. Again, good information, but we said we needed a starting point, so we're going to try to figure out how much these taxes are per day. So we take 10,664 divided by 360. Now notice this step is going to be the same regardless of how the taxes are prorated. And the taxes are $29.62 per day. Let me remind you, lest you forget, when we do our tax prorations for test purposes, we use a 360-day year. That's why you're seeing 360. Okay, so now we know how much they are per day. We know that they're paid because the problem told us that they have been paid by the seller. Okay, so now let's figure out our timeline. You don't have to do this. I choose to do it because it helps me slow down so that I don't make any mistakes. Let's see, there's our 9-1. Really, it's not significant because in this case, we told you that the taxes were paid, and we also told you that it closed on October 26th. So let's see if we can get the seller reimbursed. Now, the seller paid the whole year, but he didn't use this part. So let's get the buyer to reimburse him for that. Well, let's see. There's 30 days in December, there's 30 days in November, and there's 4 days left in October. So 30 plus 30 plus 4 is 64, if my math is right. And it's $29.62 per day, big number. So $29.62 times 64 days means that the taxes for that period are $1,895.82. So that's how much the taxes were for this period right here, okay? So we're going to take that from the buyer. Why? We're going to make him pay for the part of the year he's going to use, 0.82. We're going to debit the buyer, debit the buyer, and then we are going to credit the seller for the exact same amount. I had mentioned earlier that all the attorney's trying to do is make it fair between the parties in this particular case. And if you think about it, somebody might be saying, well, why are we not sending that money to the tax man? Well, remember, the taxes have already been paid, so there's no reason to send this money to the tax office. We're going to give it back to the seller to reimburse him for the fact that he paid the whole year. Okay, so that's scenario number 2. It just happens to be the second one that I did. So this was what it would look like if it's after September 1st and the taxes have been paid.